Good morning, dear students. Today we will be showing you the dissection of the anterior abdominal wall. First, I would like to explain the incisions to you. The first incision is a vertical incision which we give from the xiphoid process down to the pubic symphysis. Around the umbilicus, we give a circular incision so that the incision doesn't pass through the umbilicus. The upper two incisions are from the xiphoid process along the costal margin up to the lateral abdominal wall on both the right side and the left side. The lower incisions are given 3 centimeters down from the anterior superior iliac spine to the pubic symphysis. After giving these incisions, we are going to reflect the skin. Once we reflect the skin of the anterior abdominal wall, we come across the superficial fascia. As all of you know, the superficial fascia is divided into two layers, the fascia of Camper's and the fascia of Scarpa. What you are seeing now is a fatty laden layer which is the outer fascia of Camper. Once we reflect the superficial fascia, we can appreciate the second layer, which is the inner layer of the superficial fascia, called the fascia of Scarpa, which is supposed to be membranous. In thin subjects, the membranous layer is more prominent, whereas the fatty layer is less prominent. Now, once we reflect the superficial fascia, we can have a view of the external oblique muscle of the abdomen. These are the fibers of the external oblique muscle of the abdomen, and the direction of the fibers is medially and downwards. These fibers, they end along a line which we call as linea semilunaris. In the center, we have another white line which is called the linea alba. It starts again from the xiphoid process down to the pubic symphysis. This linea alba is formed by the intersection of the fibers of the aponeurosis of the three oblique muscles of the abdomen, that is the external oblique, the internal oblique and the transverse abdominis. So when we trace the fibers of the external oblique muscle, we see that they end at the lateral border of the rectus abdominis along the linea semilunaris on both the sides. After we reflect the external oblique muscle, we can see the next layer muscle, which is the internal oblique. And if we appreciate the direction of the fibers, it is exactly 90 degrees to the external oblique, directed upwards and medially. This is the second layer of the muscle, which is the internal oblique. The internal oblique muscle fibers also end at the same line, that is the linea semilunaris, after which it also continues as the aponeurosis of the internal oblique. The third muscle we are going to see is the transverse abdominis, which is deeper to the internal oblique, and here you can appreciate the muscle fibers which are horizontal, and here again, as it goes medially, it converts into the aponeurosis. So these are the three muscles of the anterior abdominal wall: the external oblique, the internal oblique and the transverse abdominis. Now after this, we would like to see the rectus abdominis muscle. The rectus abdominis muscle is a strap-like muscle whose fibers are vertical. You can see here it's on the right side also, but we haven't yet reflected it. But on the left side, you can see the muscle very clearly. And in the rectus abdominis, you can see 3 tendinous intersections. These intersections are formed because of the attachment of the fibers to the rectus sheath. This layer, what you are seeing, is the aponeurosis of the external oblique as well as the anterior lamina of the internal oblique aponeurosis, which forms the anterior wall of the rectus sheath. So now what I am reflecting is the anterior wall of the rectus sheath, where you are seeing the rectus abdominis muscle with its 3 intersections. While reflecting the rectus sheath anterior wall, you have to be careful to separate the fibers which are attached to the rectus sheath. along the intersections. Now there's another one muscle which is a small triangular muscle in the lower part of the anterior abdominal wall, and this muscle is called the pyramidalis. You can see here, this is the pyramidalis muscle. This is a triangular muscle in the lower part of this anterior abdominal wall. Now if we go deeper to the rectus abdominis, we reflect the rectus abdominis, we can see the posterior wall of the rectus sheath. This is the posterior wall of the rectus sheath, and this posterior wall of the rectus sheath is formed by the posterior lamina of the aponeurosis of internal oblique and the aponeurosis of the transverse abdominis. Here we can appreciate a blood vessel which is coming from the lower aspect, and this is the inferior epigastric blood vessels. If I would like to show you the superior epigastric blood vessels also, which you can see here. These are the superior epigastric blood vessels. Now in the posterior wall of the rectus sheath, now what you are seeing here, this is the posterior layer of the wall of the rectus sheath, and this is the parietal peritoneum. Now as we go down the posterior wall of the rectus sheath, you can see here there is a deficiency. Below this curved line, you can see there is no posterior wall of the rectus sheath, as it is deficient. Why is it deficient? Because below the level of this curved line, which is called the arcuate line, the aponeurosis of the internal oblique as well as the transverse abdominis, they go anteriorly to form the anterior wall of the rectus sheath. So this line of reflection is called the arcuate line, and through this arcuate line the inferior epigastric vessels enter into the rectus sheath. Now next I would like to show you the inguinal ligament. You can see here this structure that you are seeing here. This is the inguinal ligament which extends from the anterior superior iliac spine to the pubic tubercle, and it is supposed to be the lower thickened and folded end of the aponeurosis of external oblique, but it has been separated from the inguinal ligament. Another important structure is the superficial inguinal ring. You can see here, which is an opening in the aponeurosis of external oblique. If you see carefully, the superficial inguinal ring has a medial crus, it has a lateral crus, and it has these intercrural fibers. From the superficial inguinal ring, you can see the spermatic cord which is coming out of the inguinal canal. So I expect that you have understood the dissection very clearly, and we would discuss about the dissection of the peritoneal cavity in my next class. Thank you very much.